Quick. Good night, and welcome to Mindful Live. I'm your co-host Nathan Springer, joined by the beautiful host up past her bedtime as per usual. It is currently 10:28 on the 8th of May in the year of our Lord 2025. It's a Thursday, and on a Thursday we talk, we just chill and talk. What you doing? You fixing your mustache too? Alright, I'm fixing mine. You fix your mustache too? Let me see you. It's a lovely evening. 10:29, 7:29 Concord Road says here in LA. That's on the west coast of the United States, isn't it? That's a good distance from us. Quite a distance out there. How are things out in the beautiful state of California, sir? A Trini out in California. Welcome people. Once you're on the inside, make sure you hit that like button. Double tap the screen over there on TikTok. That's how you hit the like button over there. Get those likes pumping as high and as quick as possible. Uncle Keithos drop receipts. And I saw he dropped receipts, but I also saw the minister in the ministry of he went to the diplomatic center to show all the rum and the rum bottles that were there. But I mean, I don't think that's much of a negative story to say that there's alcohol in the diplomatic center in the prime minister's residence. I don't think that's much of a negative story. That's pretty much expected. That's what they do there. I want to live there. Yes, give me the place, bro. I mean, it is the diplomatic center. Holding events is what they do. Holding events is what they do. The staff, I think, is the issue. And listen, the thing with something like that, the thing with something like alcohol in the premises, if that is state funds that bought the alcohol that they found in the diplomatic center, then wouldn't it have been as much of a bacchanal issue if he carried it away? If the former prime minister and PNM administrators took those bottles of rum and carried it away, having been bought by the state, would that have not been an issue? I'm pretty sure it would have. I don't think that's much of an issue. I don't think it's much of an issue. I listened to Mrs. Prasad Bissasa's speech today, her post-cabinet meeting address to the nation. Ronnie isn't here, but I'd like to use that to point out the fact that I've been saying, even though I find it suspicious that she is so scarce, I do not think she's anywhere close to the level that former US President Joe Biden was at. The lady is quite coherent. She understands what's going on. She seems to have her wits about her. I still find it a bit suspicious that she refuses to come downtown in the offices to work. I wonder personally if it's more a case of mistrust of the compounds and the infrastructure and the privacy of those places. I wonder if that's more the case than the many excuses that they're giving. The excuses that they're giving to me at some point in time, they're starting to sound a bit much. All right, you ready to go, Dodo? Tell the people good night. Laters, folks. All right, run along. What you think about the demerit points? I never quite like the demerit points. Oh, Jeff, what is the word? Housing and security cuts for ministers. I like that idea. To me, this including this post-cabinet briefing speech with her main speech after being inaugurated, her inauguration speech, combining those speeches, I think whoever is a speechwriter, if it's her herself, I think she is doing well. She's doing good politics. Head in. She's doing good politics. What? Yes, for now, obviously. It's obviously a for now thing. I could only speak of for now. I don't know how long it would last like that. But she is doing good politics. She is speaking wisely, I think, in the political sense. Removing security and housing from politicians, that's not something that is going to actually broke the nation. Paying for the extra security, paying for the housing of politicians, those weren't things that were pauperizing our nation necessarily, but they are things that will give you credit in the populist front. Yeah, there are things that will give you that popularity. No state-funded minister houses. I will still like to hear revenue-generating strategies from her. Well, that's kind of the most important thing. Good night, Aretha Miriam. Good night, good night. That is my name. Yeah, I would love to hear that also. Good night. And I think her suggestions are Petrotrin. They spoke about a possible pipeline, the feasibility of a pipeline to connect Suriname, Guyana to us, and where that would go. Those things take time. So I stopped letting persons up. What makes you think so? What makes you think so? It's a Thursday. That's what we do on a Thursday. Who said I've stopped? I see no requests. Blessed good night. She has 10 years to do homework and reflection, so she will do well this far. She had 10 years. Still has to pass through Venezuelan waters. Yes, it does. And that's kind of the point about making enemies out with our southern neighbors. It's a point I was making since previous to the election, where some people make it seem like because of what the internal affairs of Venezuela might be, as if we can't do business with them because of that. While the reality of that is we have no choice. That's the neighbor that is presented to us. That's who lives next to us. We can't change that. We can't force that to be different. And if you want to be smart economically, it would make sense to get the best out of all your neighbors in all directions. So making enmity with Venezuela, I think, is a bad idea. We don't care about their affairs. We want the money. Correct. Parat trying to suppress madness is mind-blowing about Auntie Cam's not leaving her home. She left today, I guess. But yeah, I don't find the reasons to be convincing. However, she looked good and sounded good today. So it might be that our Prime Minister may show herself 2 times per week, but sound really good when she does. Who knows? The problem with those things, just like as I said, the example I was drawing, the former President of the United States, Joe Biden. The problem people had with him and his mental decline and his seniority, as it were. The thing is, you aren't getting what you voted for. You voted for a particular person to be in leadership, but now you don't actually know who is leading. You don't know who is actually making the decisions. That might be the case. She basically said it's not on her power to reduce their salary back. Well, I kind of knew that. It's not totally in her power, but it's not totally out of her power. And they do have the possibility of quite a majority in Parliament if they really want to make changes. What's up, Aretha?
I'm good. I'm looking at social media and actually TikTok, and I'm saying, when is it going to end?
When is what going to end?
When is all the madness? We can't settle down. for a small population of 1.6 people, I think we have to settle down. We have to, Nathan, we have to settle down.
What do you mean post-election settle down?
Huh?
What do you mean settle down after election?
Yeah. I think we need to settle down as a people, and in some of the cases, the PNM has to refocus, the UNC has to focus and try and get the job done. I mean, what I've been seeing, especially for the last 2 days, I'm looking on and I'm seeing persons saying, she's supposed to be a visible prime minister. In the ideal settings, she should be. But given Trinidad and Tobago has to remember that they chose, not in me trying to be insultive, but they chose a senior citizen to be their prime minister. Yeah? And regardless of what, at the end of it all, she said, I remember she saying that, she has to take her insulin and stuff like that. I think it's her husband who applies it, etc., etc. And it would be convenient for her to do it at home at this point in time. But what is concerning me, Nathan, is that we are still not looking at factual things. We still not, even before the elections, during the elections, after the elections, Trinidad and Tobago we are not pulling and getting the facts together to even write a comment under someone's post at this time.
I don't disagree that we're lacking on facts. When you look at many of the commenters, I do disagree on that.
Yeah.
And I said it also. I don't know how upset the voting public would be if she isn't the most visible of prime ministers, because it was known that her age was no secret, and the public still chose her to be our leader. And I recall Double G, the former head of the NTA, I believe he resigned as political leader of the NTA, which I don't know where that leaves the NTA, but he said that, I believe a while ago, he said that she took 4-day weekends or something of this, or was it 5-day weekends, some amount of long days of a weekend. He said that, and that she had a poor work ethic and she was always late and all of that. So I don't think the voting public could really be disappointed about some of those things, because that was known. The youth says, damn, Kamala is saying all the right things. I wonder if I can infiltrate and populist party in 5 years. But yes, I think she is saying the right things right now. Her speeches are on point. She is speaking.
I know people might come for me with this, but given history, I do not think that points, that demerit points should have been eliminated all entirely. Hear me out on this. The reason why I said that, you see, Trinidad and Tobago, we have a lawless population.
I disagree. I know. I continue because I think we know the argument there that Trinidad and Tobago by and large has a lawless population, and that's why we need so much laws. I disagree with that sentiment, because they say
it's not that at all. What I was going to say is that you could have instead of getting rid of it all entirely, what I was looking for is some adjustments to be made. So if it is a man has, let's say, a bad tire, let me put it like a bad tire, right? I think you could, that should not be applied to his driver's license. If you understand what I'm saying. If he has, let's say, what else? A broken light. That shouldn't be applied to his driver's license in terms of demerit points. However, if you're driving under the influence of alcohol, that, in my view, I honestly thought that they would have looked at it and instead of removing it all entirely, because we have to take into consideration, Nathan, that there are a lot of persons who would have been, and families who would have been victims of reckless driving, especially with persons.
And there are lots of people and families who are victims of poor police choice doing with this demerit points nonsense. And it's a double punishment. It's a double punishment. A double punishment is actually unconstitutional. If you're giving me a fine, I shouldn't have a demerit point. Give me a demerit point and don't give me a fine, or are you giving me fines and demerit points? That doesn't make sense. One. And two, danger to me, if your level of alcoholism is where you are at a reckless level, there were always methods to revoke people's licenses. If you are a drunk driver persistently, if you are reckless, if you are a certain amount over the limit, there were always procedures to revoke licenses. You don't need an entire demerit point system that acts as a double punishment on top of the traffic fines to do that. I am in full agreement. Get rid of the entire demerit points. One of my biggest dislikes about the former administration was the entire handling of the traffic laws system. They were very punitive on the roads. The roadblocks, if we're honest, were not about stopping crime. They did nothing to lower violent crime. They were just a money-making scheme. And I hate the idea of stripping money from your population, from your working, law-abiding population, by combing through their vehicle with fine-teeth comb. I hate that idea. I despise it. It's something that increases distrust among police and citizens, because I don't want to see any police on the road when they're on that kind of dotish mode. Trappers, you just now, let me just address some of these things there.
It's very concerning to me. We have to remember, all that we are trying to achieve, yes, is true, Nathan, and getting the public to like this and to like that and to be comfortable. But we also have to understand as well that the level of comfort in that way that we want to bring it, because I asked my cousin, actually, who's a police officer, I said, why am I not seeing, but I asked kind of space where I think that she couldn't answer me. Why am I not seeing police on the road? And that concerns me, because if it is that we reached a point where, for this last week, I have not seen any police officers on the road, none whatsoever.
But okay, what was the murder rate like for the last week? Did we have more murders? No, we didn't. It was actually considerably lower. So if I see less police officers on the road, but I have lower but there are lower murders, it might just be that in Beetham and Sealots and Laventille where we have a focus needed. Instead of on my corner, instead of on my law-abiding corner looking to give me a traffic ticket for nonsense. And I prefer the former to the latter any day. I agree things like overtaking on the shoulder, dangerous driving, DUI should stay. Well, those things are already dangerous driving. If a police catches you doing those things, you could end up charged, not just ticketed. And I'm very much okay with that. Someone over a certain limit, what are we doing with demerit points and all this Mickey Mouse nonsense schoolhouse game? No, if you're too dangerous for the road, we charge you with a crime. Other than that, something that small, there may be traffic tickets for this. And even in that view, I think traffic tickets should be minimal. Because what is happening with us is what is happening with us is we need to get out of the colonial mind, the mindset where we are actually being tended in here like we are zoo animals and we must have tenders to tend for us. No, we are self-governing people. The job of a government, the job of the police is to work for us, not to control us on behalf of the British lords. That's not what we want. And the idea that we live in a corrupt and a lawless society, that idea comes down because Africa has the same problem. They say Africa is overrun with corruption and it's a lawless people. It's not about the lawlessness of the people. It's about the incentive structure. We make so many rules and bureaucracies and the merit points and this and that and this and that and this and that, that in order to actually go through the society, in order to actually function in the society, it requires levels of corruption. If you want to open a business, you need to pay 50 bribes before it's done. So you understand that in order to get things to work in a country like this, it's corruption. So it's not that we live in a lawless society, is we have created laws that aren't suitable for the culture of our society. If you have a people and you are making laws that the majority of the people can't follow, the problem isn't the people, the problem is the law.
No, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, Hotel.
But as I said, and that's just as I say, I understand you and I hear you, but my thing is that we have what you said about the demerit points being added to the license, and then on top of that you're being charged. That I can understand. Is either you choose one out of the two. It can't be the two at any given point in time. Yeah? But we still need some, as you said, there are laws in place. I don't think years ago before this demerit points, when I don't know if you can remember the story, when a child was bounced down by a motorbike in the vicinity of the constituency of Tabaki, and the driver was said to be, let me just say alcohol. It had alcohol in it. I don't think up to now, he never went before the courts in any major way. So that's what I'm saying. There are persons who would have lost their loved ones.
But Arita, that's a problem of corruption and implementation. Then in that case, there are people with demerit points that still drive. There are people that acquire demerit points like it was money they have to collect, like it's candy out of a piñata. They have 50-something, 100 and something demerit points and they still drive on the road. The demerit points won't change that. Effective policing, effective judiciary, that's how you change those things. As I said, there were always people that got revoked licenses. I know of people that lost their license. I know of people that got kicked out of it. You could never get a license again. They cut your license and your name banned from in the ministry place. There are people like that, even before the demerit points. The demerit points aren't necessary. I think it's an added layer, and on top of the obscure traffic laws we have, I don't find police should get more power on our roads. I don't like it. I don't like it. The problem we face in Trinidad isn't bad driving and horrible cars. The average car in Trinidad is pretty well maintained relatively. That's not where we face problems. Even the dangers on our roads that cause accidents, it's not something that's a ticketable offense that causes the accidents. You can't ticket people out of fatal accidents. That's not how you do it. That's not what you do for those accidents. So our problem with violent crime isn't solved by tickets for broken glasses, tickets and demerit points for a yellow light, tickets for a light malfunctioning, and that's what we've been facing for the last 8 years or so. That's oppressive. That's why Dr. Rowley lost. Combine that with the whole thing. People feel like this group of people didn't care. And that's why I say Mrs. Kamla Persad-Bissessa's speeches thus far have been good politics. I'm not even saying whether I agree per se or not, but it's good politics. It's showing a clear and intended reversal of just the things that many people in the country voiced they really didn't like. And PNM better catch up, because if Mrs. Persad-Bissessa is able to successfully hold that tone and effectuate, I think Mrs. Persad-Bissessa's biggest problem is going to be revenue. where you're getting the money thanks. That's going to be the hardest problem the UNC government has. If somehow they get through with the pipeline to Suriname and Guyana, or with Grenada gas, or I heard EOG found some gas somewhere.
You just made mention of that passing through Venezuela also?
Yes. Now I say if
that is one nation I sitting on the edge of a seat to look at, because remember what we as Trinidadians and along with with Stuart T would have done with what's his name?
Maduro?
With Maduro. You know, if it's one thing we know about, it's Maduro, this whole I wouldn't say, well, we just fight in Trinidad, see this whole grudges, eh?
All authoritarian leaders are like that.
So, at the end of the day, let me see how that working out, because first thing, we might say we talk in English and them talk in Spanish, but he would have been looking on very closely at the behaviors of Trinidad and Tobago for the last couple of months where he is concerned. You understand?
Trappers, almost with certainty, it would have to pass through Venezuelan waters, just because of the nature.
We know it have to pass through Venezuela.
Because of the nature of the geography.
Right now, unless he's removed
Trinidad, that's why my first studio for the OGs in the chat, my first studio that had the Caribbean map behind me. Trinidad is here, Venezuela. Trinidad is kinda in a nook of Venezuela. Trinidad is here and Venezuela is not only here, Venezuela is here and here. Guyana is actually a bit further down that way. So to get from Guyana up to Trinidad, you gotta go through those Veni waters.
As I say, we know we gotta go through the waters. We know all of that. But we also know, and let us do not play like we don't know. We know the guy that we're dealing with.
Well, Mrs. Prasad Bisesa said they are in narco state, so I hope that she's able to somehow still milk out some grace and favor there if necessary. Aline says there was also a period where the PM referred to Juan Guaido as the president, our current. You mean? I thought you were talking about the former prime minister.
You and I both know that we want, as you say just now, let me stay out of people's business, and that is why it is I kept on every social media platform. But you see, Trinidadians are so, I don't want to say anything ill, but Trinidadians tend to talk more than they listen. At the end of the day, yes, the Dragon gas deal is done and over with. You understand? That is scrapped. But
I don't actually believe that is scrapped, yeah? Just so you know.
Just relax. And please don't have anything much to say about the not Donald Trump, the next guy, Maduro. Have nothing much to say about him. Leave the man alone. But you know what we Trinis, according to the saying, we are keyboard warriors. So we tend to go up on social media, talk all kind of shit. You're laughing, talk all kind of nonsense, and say, oh yes, she right. She recognized what's in name Guaido as the president. And of course, Mr. Maduro would have had insight of that conversation. So let's hope and pray that he puts his ways aside and does what is best for both his country and ours in the process.
Even if you get through with your negotiations with him, that's not saying Guyana is going to agree. That's not saying Suriname is going to agree. There are lots of discussions that need to go on there. The energy minister, Dr. Munilal, he's going to have his hands full. Trappers, when you say your doctor, when you said your doctor before there, that to me shows me something. It shows me when someone isn't convinced of something by reason, but when they are ideologically bought, because their emotions get trapped into it. You are so offended to recognize the qualifications of the former prime minister because you have bought in so much to that heat. That's a bad place to be, sir. You could call the guy Dr. Rowley and disagree with his methods of of being in charge. But to me, that's a clear sign. It's one of those things that's a clear sign. I always remember back since 2010 or 2015 was it the election, I asked, when it was getting heated, I asked, because I have a very wide mixed following by and large over on Facebook, and I asked if you could see something positive about the party that you are opposed to, and it's interesting. Very few people can. Very few people can. When you buy in so strongly into politics, it makes you blind. That's not a healthy place to be. They could pee on you and tell you it's water.
When you buying so much into party more than the politics, because you know you can like the politics, but you're so wrapped up into the party that you're following that you tend to do things and say things and conceptualize things that sometimes. But Nathan, as I said, I pray that, what's his name? That guy, I don't even want to call him name on social media. And I said, tell you, I don't know if you listed it, he interpreted it in the English and the Spanish. I really and truly hope that he put everything aside and try to deal with Trinidad in the next couple of months. Because if he doesn't, I know in terms of diplomacy, yeah, he will give them a hearing. But really and truly, I don't want to say that I don't see, but that would be an uphill battle, because Trinidadians literally, for this last couple of months, especially with this Dragon Gas deal, they did the most and they said the most. And it's not only the citizenry, but also the politicians. They had...
Hey, Ronnie.
Liberty.
Trappers, the Gulf of Paris, it's not international waters.
We said?
The Gulf of Paris is international. Where did you get that? Maduro already made his plans for TNT and Guyana. Nothing we see will affect him. What do you think about the PM response to Akash today about him asking her about the life fund? It's not bad politics, to answer that. It's not bad politics, but I disagree with that tone of answering that you didn't ask the previous people, so don't ask us. I disagree with that tone, and on that tone, you will never get an answer. So if before we answer, we have to go back through the files to see if the same question was asked of the previous administration and how they answered. No, I disagree with that. I think if you were voted in for that change. So I don't think that's a good enough reason. However, I'm not in disagreement with her that there's no need to expect them to give up their salary to that life fund business. I won't hold it against them if they don't. Yes, it is where it is controlled by both countries through a treaty. You do understand that the Gulf of Paria is right off the coast of Point Lisas and Petrotrin and Point 14, and all that entire area is the Gulf, right? You know, when you bathe in Flower Pot in Marabella, you bathe in the Gulf of Paria, right?
Yep.
When you dive off the shoreline Flower Pot in Marabella, you don't dive into international waters. That's TNT waters right there.
TNT waters.
Right there. Those are TNT waters. And research what? Sir, there are maps. There's nothing to research. Please go Google territorial map of the Caribbean and go see if you find any international waters anywhere in the Caribbean Sea. Show me anywhere in the Caribbean Sea where there are international waters that isn't in the jurisdiction of anyone. Man.
Didn't I tell you that Trinidadians I don't see them getting, yes, we all have a phone, majority of us have access to internet, but I don't see us being informed people.
Well, our new Prime Minister is giving out laptops to everyone, so everyone would be able to go up on that internet and research properly.
Hey, that is for the children, not for the big people.
We know how the laptops went even in the time before. big brothers and big cousins had that red, black, and white laptop balling. I saw men DJing, men out here DJing with school laptops. So the laptops are for the society, the broader society. We all will benefit. Social studies in secondary school taught me this. Yes, yes, it did, Ali.
Couple of months and days ahead on the keep off Maduro case. Do even have mentioned anything about Maduro and Stuart Young and that? Or they kill that, they see how the Prime Minister said dead, or they hush on their mouth and don't say nothing.
You know,
what all they will be doing while you're running up on their mouth is what all they will be doing is causing problems for when Munilal or whoever it is decide to go and have a conversation with this man. Shut up. Keep all the fingers crossed.
I don't actually think the dragon deal is dead.
Minister of Venezuela, keep all the opinions, and most of the people who are listening here don't have 1,000 followers to make a video or to go live. And for the ones that who could do it, I'm gonna try and stay off the people, the man case.
Yeah, I don't actually think the dragon deal is dead because there are private companies involved and there were documents that were already signed. So I think it's more whether it's dead or not is more. That's not even totally up to her because I'm still talking. The private companies are the ones involved. They do this based on profitability. Once the US gives the go-ahead, those private companies are still going to go through it that. And do you think Mrs. Prasad Bisasa is going to say no if they are getting through the Dragon Gas deal? That's politics. She's saying that is politics. And even with the personal grouse that many of those authoritarian leaders have, many of those men are pragmatists. They are working with what works. That's why they are still where they are. So if the dragon deal is able to go through and will be successful for Venezuela and will be successful for Trinidad and will be profitable for the private companies involved, namely Shell, then that deal is still going to go through. The only thing that deal is dependent on right now is the US go ahead. And I think that may be held up as long as the US is doing a lot of these massive trade deals that they're doing. I saw they just announced one with the United Kingdom. That may be the first of a cascading set. And I think after those trade deals are done and we see how all the countries are set up in terms of what the trade is going to be, then we are going to revisit the Dragon Gas deal. And I think that the Dragon Gas deal is not up to KPB. The Dragon Gas deal is up to DJT. That's who the Dragon Gas deal is really up to. And once they give the go-ahead, no one involved is going to refuse it.
Yeah, I believe that too. My only thing. But when you was talking, the person asked about Akash. Here was my thing with Akash. It looks crappy.
Hello, good night.
Yeah.
Wow, you guys are quick on the mark. Right?
Yeah, but
I was trying to catch up on
the thing with Akash today, Nathan.
Yeah.
For me, as I said, this is my opinion. This is not the views of Nathan. To the people who want his life, that's just my opinion. Akash, let me be real. Akash dragged Dr. Rowley. You know what I'm telling you? You saw those videos? He dragged him. He didn't give him a chance. And I saw when he was doing that to Dr. Rowley, everybody was like, yes, Akash. And until what you know end up interviewing Akash, first he become popular. And now I am seeing persons, some of the same names, popping up on social media, saying, we are laughing later, saying, Akash basically get in line. And if we want to have a balance in society, I don't think that we should be that way. We shouldn't.
Correct.
We really shouldn't be that way. If it is, he was, because I tell you, he did drag Dr. Robbie. It's at that time I was feeling sorry for the PNM with Akash. You understand? But if it is we want that balance, Akash is a journalist and he's entitled to ask questions that may not be too much in the favor of who he's asking it to. But at the end of the day, the questions are there to be asked, and the right thing to do is to, be a little diplomatic when you answer the people. He who saw somebody say Akash answer her. He told her, I am asking you now.
Yeah.
Yes, actually Akash, Modesto, I think it is. Akash is the man to put the questions there and hey, you're asking me.
And that has been Akash for me. Good night, Krimak. For me, I kinda always had not a great deal of necessarily liking for his style. I find sometimes it feels like he is attempting to get himself as part of the news story, and I don't like that style of journalism. But if he's consistent with it, how you can really be vexed?
That some of the questions that he asks, right, while they may be relevant, some are irrelevant to what is being said. Yes, he's a good journalist, can't knock him for that. And in today's press conference, right, I commend the Prime Minister on how she responded to him. She's not buffing him, but the question being asked is not one of what I would call relevance to the matter at hand.
You know what I think though, Sparky? I think it's never up to the interviewed person to determine which questions are relevant. It's not up to, especially when you're in a role.
It's a new administration that has come into place,
Mm-hmm.
and I am sure Akash would have been, he's not a journalist yesterday morning. He has been at it a good number of years.
Yes.
Right? And by now he would have known the protocols for when a new administration comes into play and certain things that has to take place before these things can happen. Right? So I am sure, pretty certain, I could put my head on the block, that I think he is well schooled and he should have known better not to have asked that question.
I don't like that idea. I don't like the idea of critiquing the questions asked by a journalist, and just the fact that the question precipitated that answer and the amount of news and the ripple effect that it had shows that it was pertinent enough of a question. His job isn't to be relevant to the Prime Minister's narrative, to the government's mission. His job is to be relevant to his readers and viewers, and if his readers and viewers would find such a question relevant, that's his determinant, not the Prime Minister's narrative, not even the topic of the press conference. He is beholden to his viewers, to the citizens of the country. That's how he keeps himself more neutral, more balanced, and in a good journalistic frame. You aren't there to fall into the framing of the politicians. If you do that, especially skilled politicians will pull you, drag you, and lead you along wherever you want to go. That was the problem with Barack Obama. He had too good of a media team that made all of the journalists basically outlet arms of his comms team. And here's the thing. Akash already has to face allegations of bias. There are many people that think Akash don't like the PNM and he a little favored to the UNC. Many people already do that. And his wife is already a known UNC person. So these things are known out there. I am sure he has those considerations in mind. And especially with those considerations in mind, he for sure does not want to sound like he's part of the UNC comms team. He is there to ask the questions relevant to the people that consume their news. And that question seems like it was relevant enough to them.
I agree with you, Nathan, right? But I still say that at the forum at which it was asked, right? I personally, this is my personal opinion, right? Do not think the question was right for that forum, being that it was the first press conference that was happening, right? I would have waited until we now come down to maybe press conference number 2 as we are learning other things that are happening as the first week go by, right? There are a lot of issues that are being pointed out, right? So to have asked that question, right, I didn't think it was personally appropriate, but I understand the angle at which you're coming from, and I do accept it.
And to me, here's why I would see there's relevance in the question. Mrs. Prasad Bisesa made a note of saying that their first cabinet note, just like last time, was the Children's Life Fund and the importance of it again. And if you're going back, just like last time included a pledge of a certain amount of your salary to it. So now, as she made that point, now I think is the most appropriate and relevant time to ask. If you attempt to ask that somewhere down the road, the story of the Children's Life Fund being the first cabinet note that you did, that story is already stale. You asked the question in relation to what she brought up. She brought up the Children's Life Fund like they did last time and the importance of it and da. So that's why he would ask that. And I think, yes, there may be a bit of cheekiness in it and a bit of slight provocation, if you will, but that's the job of the journalist.
Yeah, and that is, I agree with you, Nathan, because let me tell you, as I said, listen, that Akash is very powerful. You know, I'm telling you. And it's how he just bring across the questions. And Sparky, let me I want to tell Trinidad and Tobago something. When you assume office as politicians, there is no right time to start taking questions or right time to start getting your feet wet. And that is not how that goes. In most instances, if you look on an international level, look at Donald Trump for example. The man on the first 2 days, he was creating total chaos, and the media was coming at him. You understand?
We have to, Aretha, we have to remember that when we look at, I noticed you mentioned Donald Trump, right? The United States have a period of transition between November
I was thinking about that.
Right? For personnel to be briefed, the president to be briefed on what will happen, right? What is happening nationally, and these things. There's a handing over period before you have the official peaceful transfer of power. Here in Trinidad and Tobago, right? We do not have such a period within our constitution that allows us to have that transition, right? So of course you will, yes, you win today, you swear in your attorney general and the prime minister, then you start to put in your ministers and then everything, and then you're now having your period of when you will be briefed on other things and when you start doing things, right? Now the United States Constitution is much different from what we work with here in Trinidad and Tobago, right? So a lot of briefings will be happening along with ministers, parliamentary secretaries, and the mix goes on, right? Before certain things are done. Now, what I will say to you, I was very surprised that Cabinet Note 1 had to deal with the Children's Life Fund, which meant that on the campaign trail, she would have addressed certain things, and she made it important that at her first Cabinet Note meeting, she thought that this matter was so, I don't want to use the word egregious, right? But it was so important that it had to be Note 1, right? Cabinet Note 1, that a decision had to be made.
Well,
the thing is, Sparky.
I have never been a politician, and I don't think I ever want to be. But I don't think that, you see, I allow persons to ask the question. So Nathan, I want to hear your view on this before I leave you on. Between yesterday and today, we have had a social media uproar about the White Hole. I don't understand. No, as I said, this is my opinion and not the views of the host. In no way I could have understood either side putting this much emphasis into this building. Whether or not she stays there, she doesn't stay there, whatever. The amount of emphasis that was, I looked at that and I'm saying, but this is not, this, as I was telling Sparky just now, and this all boils back to what I was telling you, Sparky. You cannot address the nation on certain things. You find it's too early. But both sides is on the media for the last 48 hours. Up and down, left and right about a white one. I don't understand.
For the Whitehall, I wouldn't blame both sides for that. I wouldn't blame both sides for that. The Whitehall is on the government. The Whitehall is on the government in power. If you want to blame someone, because the opposition is just reacting as the government says. And to me, it's an issue because it's either not too much of an issue or they're liars, and then it's a very curious issue. If indeed the Whitehall is dilapidated and non-functional, then that's not much of an issue. Get it repaired, whatever. If it is functional, then that is actually a very big issue. Why would they lie? Why would they hide that? That is what would make that a big issue. If it's a lie. If it's not a lie, then it's whatever. Why is this news? The reason it's a big issue is because people wonder if it's a lie. That's the main thing. And Sparky,
I will add to that.
Go ahead.
It's a big issue because if the PS is telling you that the secretariat, right, is not able to function from where it is designed to function.
Yeah.
I mean the location or the premises or the plant, if that's what you want to refer to it, right, is not fit for purpose.
Yeah,
right?
but Sparky, my question with that is,
we need to look at things in the way it's supposed to be. Why are we having a building that is supposed to be the seat of governance in the country, and the most important part to the seat of governance in the country is not able to function effectively? Right? So what you're basically saying to me is that, okay, we have the front of the house looking good, right? But the gas stove and the washroom ain't working.
I understand you, Sparky.
But Sparky, that is if that is true, and to what extent it is true, because that is exactly where the contention is. If you're talking about repairs that need to happen, the truth is, because of the type of building that is, repairs are constant, ongoing, round the clock thing. It will never end. It's always under repairs. I know. I've been there. It's always there's work always going on. So
because let me tell you something. What further intrigued the public? Because in the beginning it started as a joke, basically. Everybody was like, they're calling nobody right all, yeah. But then, at the point in time, Mr. Padarat is there, and he's saying, what? The building is not functional, and you brought out a whole set of drinks, etc., stating, come for your drinks, Dr. Rowley. And I was like, what are we doing? Because if it is that you're saying that the building is non-functional, you all came out and you all showed a snippet of a video where it had a couple things that wasn't looking too right, etc. However, the past Prime Minister would have shown a more in-depth video, and then when you came back with a rebuttal, about half an hour later, you stood outside of the premises and you didn't show the public the inside. So person saying, well, okay, Dr. Rowley showed what he left, and person saying, but that could have been something from 10 years ago. But I'll tell you something. any right thinking person, especially in Trinidad right now, and the way that the media is, what you would do, especially in a building that is not yours, most times you would take, it could be an Airbnb, whatever. Once that premises is not yours, the right thinking person and the correct thing to do is that you don't want to make a long 10-minute video, but you can do something for 15 to 20 seconds to show that you left the people place intact. You understand? And I think that that is what Dr. Rowley Andy did. And if it is Mr. Padarat, and that is what made this thing blow up, because you cannot say that it's not functional after he sent out the video, and then you didn't even want the media, who would have given I guess, a proper, unbiased, so to speak, coverage. You didn't even allow them inside to see what the place is looking at that you're complaining about. What you did in turn, you closed the door, and you stood outside with members of staff that you tried to put into a video, who seemingly by their body language didn't really want to be part of it. Because if it's me, and that's my job, that's my bread and butter, if you lose the next election, you're not going to make me lose with you. So the lady stepped aside. I was looking at all of that, Sprite. No, you're laughing. I mean, real. If it's me, you're not pulling me in that, sir, you do this on your own. You understand? And when you're done, what you show is some cases of LLB, water, juice, some cases. That is foolishness. That is utter foolishness. And you see, Chance, another TikToker, would have put up a video earlier this evening, and he said, you are asking now for $5 million to fix this place. Oh, is it that was the intention?
Some contractor will make
$5 million for renovations according to
some contractor would make a nice bit of money. And by the way, you're mixing up the two. That's not Whitehall. Whitehall is the thing with the basement problem.
Oh, yes.
You're talking about the diplomatic center and the Prime Minister's residence. Here's the thing. I don't think Dr. Rowley is the kind of man, from his disposition, we were saying this last night, he seems like he likes the finer things in life. Mm-hmm. That seems like the guy. He doesn't. Yes. The guy, out of all places to live, he lives in Goodwood Park. That's not someone who just wants to exist.
And
you think? You think? When remember, it's not Tanti Sharon cleaning up the diplomatic center, you know. It's not Tanti Sharon with a broom and a mop going through the whole diplomatic center cleaning and tidying, you know. They have staff. They could hire contract cleaning companies to come in there. You think he was just living in a pigsty with septic problems?
Yeah.
Like
that. Yeah. It didn't sit right, Nathan. It didn't sit right. And you see, again, Trinidadians have this way that right now everybody's still in election mode. But the reality of it is, and that's why I said to you earlier that I want them to come out of that like really quickly, because if you don't, certain things will be flying over your head that not supposed to, but because you're in election mode and you're still as red as the world and yellow as the code and all this nonsense, things are going to pass you by because you're not being cognizant of certain facts.
And that's why politicians love you in that mood. Politicians would like for the guy that was in the chat earlier to still be hooked up on not being able to see the doctor in front of Rowley and Growley and Bobby Head. And the politicians love that, because then you would hold the mantra line all the while that my team is good just because they're my team. I don't care what they do. I don't care. La, 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 la. Once they're my team, they're good.
Can I ask this question then? Would it be fair of us to ask that when we have a change of government, maybe we can look at maybe amending our constitution, right? That when we have a change of government, we allocate an amount of, let's say, $5 million or $10 million to renovate the residence of the Prime Minister and the Office of the Prime Minister for
I
a
don't think
period
that's
of
supposed to cost so much.
90 days. Because when one looks at the United States Constitution, right, and the reason why the peaceful transfer of power does not take place until the 20th of January, it allows them for time to renovate the residence of the White House to the incoming presidency. Right? They are allowed to do that. So as one goes out, while one has known that he is losing, he has a period from November 4th until January 20th to get rid of his things, renovate, and do things according to that. When the official transfer takes place on the 20th of January at noon, right?
It's a smooth transition.
Right, it's a smooth transition. And maybe that is what we need to look at within our constitution itself.
Well, I will tell you something,
So, with no name, I haven't lived with Cohen for a very long time.
Cutting out.
You can tell now, come closer to the mic.
I'm just telling the commenter in the there. I haven't lived with my brother for a very long time, so I can't tell him to wake up. Go ahead.
We didn't hear you.
Go ahead. I was just responding to a comment. Go ahead, Arita.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, Frankie, to be quite honest with you, as I said, it's just my opinion. I'm not giving no politician, whether it's red, yellow, blue, whatever the case in this country. Yes, I would agree with it if we had a different type of politics in Trinidad and Tobago and politicians, but I don't really believe them need too much niceness. I really don't. Nathan, you're laughing. I really don't. Because I'll tell you something. I find they should be a little bit uncomfortable in certain working environments. Look like, for instance, I will tell you all this. So, the Minister of Health would have come to San Fernando General Hospital and said that the hospital is in a deplorable state. No, I don't mean to laugh, but I have an 18-year-old daughter, and nothing in that hospital has changed. Absolutely nothing. So the only thing that went on was with the new teaching hospital on the side. But nothing in that hospital has changed. So when you come to tell me that the hospital is in a deplorable state, I will look at you and laugh because, listen, you all now know that. You all now know that. These are things that should have been brought up in the parliament as the opposition, jamming the government, the then government, as to why it is the hospital is in that condition. And this is why I say the level of hypocrisy amongst politicians sometimes baffles me. Because a government, when I say a government, I mean the person who is sitting in office and also the opposition. That is what makes up the government of Trinidad and Tobago. And in order to keep the sitting administration on their toes, there are things pertaining to the people that you have to bring forth in the parliament. So you cannot tell me that you have been sitting there. So what you was living in a bubble? You didn't, nobody that you knew of at no point in time, no friend, no family, no neighbor ever went to the San Fernando General Hospital and saw that hospital has been in that condition.
Well, Tanti Penny now has an opportunity to show us how sensible opposition would function, and that's quite an opportunity. Opposition is a very good place to be, if you have political aspirations, because if you are a diligent opposition, you would have things to talk about every day, all day. It's very easy to critique. So if she is sound on it, and if she's sensible in it, where it doesn't seem like she's just opposing for opposing's sake, I think she'd be well. And it does seem like she is is a calmer person when it comes to the opposing and throwing out talking points. But then it also, who knows? Because I have a feeling that the PNM isn't settled on necessarily her being the next prime minister in the next election coming up. There seem to be ambitious people all around.
Suicide if the PNM doesn't settle on, because it cannot be anybody else at this point. At this point, it cannot be anybody else. It can't. It just can't.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Look at what is there. Some of them are too young. Their feet are now basically getting wet into the politics of the day. And I really and truly hope that they don't make that mistake of putting someone else to stand before the public of Trinidad and Tobago other than Penelope Beckles. She was supposed to be there, rightfully so. I will continue to say that.
I will disagree with you on that one.
No, well, you see, from the bowels, you may disagree with me, but not because somebody is not loud and somebody is not aggressive, that doesn't mean that that person is not a good leader.
I agree with you on that point, but you have to remember that we did a straw poll and we brought in our Gary Sobers. Now, to come and now exchange your Gary Sobers now with someone else now, it therefore means as if you were not settled with the original decision, and then now you now have a different person in line now, which somehow, while everybody may want this person, you then send a message that you're a bit unsettled.
Well, to be quite honest with you, Sparky, I have never seen this type of behavior. If Nathan could correct me, I've never seen this type of behavior from the PNM. So if it's one time in how many years that they seem unsettled, things happen. And I expect that they would get themselves together in the shortest period of time and get on with the nation's business. Because we have seen that even though, based on what you said just now, we have some questionable characters sitting in our parliament right now as we speak. But you know what? The nation chose them.
Right, the nation chose a package of promises, right? Those are the words
I don't know nothing about that.
Right? They chose a package of promises, and I mean, we are all free to choose.
Correct.
Right? We did not want what was being presented to us any longer, so the nation did choose. But I am not sure how to say this, but could it be a possibility that in writing a bold new chapter, it's like a bold new chapter of confusion? Is that
I could never agree with you on that. And any right thinking person, despite all the things that we may think and feel about that particular administration, we have never seen, if it's one thing, and a lot of journalists could tell you this, who have worked in journalism and reported things pertaining to this country for years. The PNM has never been an organization to air their dirty laundry. They could be fighting in there. You understand? And the only thing you would have heard was a little rift between Dr. Rowley and the deceased Patrick Manning. At the end of the day, you have never seen this kind of. And to be quite honest with you, there are certain persons, in my humble opinion, that the PNM allowed into as a major part of the party that they need to get rid of. And I think with all of them being together and looking, because they know there are persons within the party who understand what it is happening, and they will make the right decision.
You know,
They will.
I think for PNM, Stewart mightn't even be might still be a better option than Penny. Controversial opinion. I think Stewart might still be a better
Well, Nathan, I agree with you. And I say he should have remained in his position.
He should have remained in his position.
I made this point over on.
Revoke his that. You all know what went on there. You all know what.
It doesn't bother me because I have no party card.
And that's what I'm telling you, Ronnie. If you know who you're talking to on this side of the fence, yes, he resigned publicly, but that's not what went on. At the end of the day.
Well, they're going to have an election, and Stewart should still throw his name in the pot. And if I were to select on behalf of the PNM, as it were, I have no PNM party card, I can't vote. But if I were to select, and trying to think of who would be best, I think Stewart might still be best. This loss, Stewart lost, but it's not on Stewart who lost. I made this point. If Penny was chosen instead of Stewart, she would have lost, I think, in the same fashion. This was a revocation of the PNM as an administrative group. It wasn't on Dr. Rowley alone. It wasn't on Stewart alone. It was the last 10 years of PNM the country didn't want.
It was how they managed the affairs of the country. Right?
So,
I think it was also just like people got fed up. I think a lot of it.
well, that's why I say they weren't fed up.
They've been taking the bitter medicine for so long post-COVID.
Right.
And the country just got fed up and said, we are tired of taking the bitter medicine.
And it was a PNM was the bitter medicine, not Dr. Rowley himself. So I think taking as the conclusion from that election that Stewart is really unpopular across the country. I don't know if that's a good and accurate conclusion to take. Brian Manning, I think, would flop. He would just be depending totally on his father's reputation. I've barely heard the man say 3 sentences together.
Exactly.
He's just not out there. Yes, I did see what's going on between India and Pakistan. I believe the largest aerial dogfight since World War II. Some 100 and something planes shooting out with each other in their airspace. That's full-fledged war. That's not even jokey stuff. That's war. And both of those guys have nukes. All right. India and Pakistan, take it down now. Please, relax on yourself. Let the world continue spinning. All nice and well. We good over here. But yeah, I personally, yes, and we're talking about the PNM because that's what pertains to us. The PNM is our war. Personally, to me, I don't think Penny would be effective in taking leadership. Truth be told, according to how badly the UNC does, nearly anybody at the head of the PNM may have a good chance, but that's depending. Put PNM on one of their rockets.
Okay, so I just want to caution. I have to agree. I don't like Penny for the leadership of PNM. I don't. And I hate the way how everybody has made it like a hard and fast thing. Like, oh, Penny is so great. From what I was reading, a lot of the UNC supporters are like, oh, Penny is so great or whatever. I think it's just because she'll be easy to beat. That's why they say that. But at the end of the day, I don't think I don't say she has not done great things. I think she did a lot for her area, which is good. And I think most people will say, oh, this person do real good in my area and whatever. Right? Great. Happy for them. But at the end of the day, we need a proper leader. We need a person who is probably a little diplomatic, a little bit, and we need somebody who knows what they're doing to a lesser degree.
Arima. Kermak Arima.
Just now, wait. I can finish what I'm saying. We've been calling Sir Johnny Minister everything, and I think it's because he has proven that he has done, or he is able to do certain things and hold certain positions, right? Primark asking, what is her area? That is not Arima.
Yeah.
So I don't understand what you're asking of Primark. Primark, I don't know, you have like ILP man, and listen, people who follow party politics so hard to that degree where they're not able to recognize ILP. But because he is an ILP, he come here and say he was with Jack Warner and Primark, am I right? No, but Primark say that before Primark come and talk about he was he was an ILP or whatever. He was walking around with Jack or whatever. Yeah, Primark. I was scared. I don't forget certain things. I'm sorry, probably I see somebody else. Probably he's that tall man. Probably. It's that tall man who was a supporter. I think it was. Anyway, I feel Primark trying to gaslight me because you know my brain a little forgetful now. I really don't forget.
I notice he ain't deny it though, eh? He ain't deny it, Ronnie. He ain't deny it.
I can wear a panty and coat.
I go ahead and talk and forget he.
So, right, when I was asking Mom, I forget what I was asking.
Walk all over the place because this man high crazy. What I'm saying is, why would you say, in your analysis, why would you say that he is a good leader?
I just said that he seems diplomatic enough because that's what we need, and he is knowledgeable. For the years he has been around, I think he's very knowledgeable on certain things, right? So that is what I could say. What I would say is I don't like Penny. I think for personal reasons in certain interactions. Probably that's just me having that situation and me having that.
Well, what is the standout about? What is so standout about Penny that makes her seem like a great leader?
Somebody asked who is Stuart.
No, he asking who is that Stuart in terms of what Ronnie was talking about. But what makes Penny, yes, it's Stuart she was saying seems knowledgeable. But what makes Penny seem like a good leader?
I think the same reasons that Ronnie said about Stuart Young.
Which ministries Penny was at the head of?
She was the Minister of Planning. She was the Minister of Housing. She was also, I think the minister is about 3 or 4 different ministries she was part of.
And those ministries, when she was there, became the focal point. Were there lots of initiatives? Were they shaking and moving in the country? I will answer and say no.
In terms of, you see, you would answer and say no. But a lot of persons who would have, like, in the different ministries that she was part of, would have said, and you see, that's the thing, you sound a little bit like the crowd. At the end of the day, you have to listen to the ground, and that is where the disconnect comes. Because if somebody tells you,
so why the ground like Penny then? Why does the ground like Penny? Because she's a black woman?
no, that is not why. If it is that you have an issue and you go to her, even no, it doesn't always be of what a politician could give to you. You see that mere being able to listen and to have and to offer a word of advice, no matter, it could be advice.
But Arita, you must understand, there may be what, 5,000 people max that you'd be referring to like that went to her and personally got a good relationship?
Aretha, is it fair to say that she has been listening all this time, but not understanding?
She has been listening but not understanding. Why would you say that?
Because, I mean, you are saying that she's someone you can go to, she does listen to you. But then, if she's listening to so many persons and we're not seeing actions, it therefore means she's listening but not understanding. Because she was given 2 large ministries. And one in particular was what is referred to in politics as a super ministry. And she was not effective in the super ministry.
And which ministry is that?
Planning and development is a super ministry.
Yeah.
It is the right hand of the Ministry of Finance. And of course, when one looks back at what has taken place in the Ministry of Planning, right, and what should have happened economically, it hasn't happened. So I mean, she has spent a lot of time listening, but is she understanding?
That's
The problem,
Spark.
the problem is, I don't think so.
You made you crowned off my point pretty clearly. That Pixel Lab pulse over on YouTube when it's you alone. I saw that Pixel Lab pulse. You retract it. Now I saw your comment, but yeah, you crowned off my
Then
point.
she went to housing. Right? She was at housing, and I'm saying to myself, good Lord, man, come on, man. We still have a housing crisis here. She has been listening, but she has not been understanding. And then now you're saying she's going to be a very good leader. So then no.
Questions, Frank.
Is it fair to say that this confession we're going to have now?
Listen. Don't get emotional. Take
I'm
the
not getting
emotion.
emotional. I'm just being practical.
No, take the emotion out of your voice. Hear this.
I know I sound emotional, but I'm just being practical. Okay? Go ahead, I'm hearing you.
Why does who is this running? Who is this fool?
Hey, Arita, you can have the comments throwing you off from what you say.
Exactly, and that's what is asking them. Why does ask them? I'm now telling this guy about them keyboard badge on and them so is the reason why it is. You see them so I said I don't know if you was listening, Ronnie. I look better and laughing. You see them so them is the reason why it is Trinidad hanging on a thread. Where Maduro is concerned, if Kamala go to him to make a deal.
But to return to the point at hand. To return to the point at hand, Sparky.
She was carrying out the instructions of role. She can't do what she wants. I will disagree with you on that. When the ministry,
And here's
planning.
Let one of them sit down there right now, do something other than what is Kamala tell them to do.
just now, Arita, just now, to show you the kind where leadership comes in and where leadership shines out. Remember what made Dr. Rowley rise above the pack? You remember what made him rise above the pack?
Yep.
Doing against what his leader wanted. That's what made him rise above the pack. You know how Kamala rose above the pack with Pandey? Same thing.
It was
Same thing. You can't listen. If you want to, and this is the point I'm making. This is what I'm asking Aretha. This is what I'm asking.
Ineffective.
What has she done to show us that, all right, Kamala was willing to jump out and, as it were, betray and backstab the founder of her party and the person that brought her up?
She didn't stand up against anybody.
Well, you could narrative it however you want. You could narrative it however you want. That's the end cause. But what has she done to show that she would be a real, true, good, strong leader? What is the proof of that?
We are yet to see it.
So I could say, all right, I mightn't like Gary's attitude and everything, but if there's one thing Gary is a leader. I don't think Gary could be anything but a leader. Double G. The man has an intent in his mind, and like he can't help himself but do what his intent is. That to some extent you need that kind of obstinacy, that stubbornness to be a good leader.
Yeah, but I don't like that, Nathan. You know that. Them don't like that. Them don't like how Gary doesn't breathe.
Well,
if we don't like how Gary operates, how did we accept how Rowley operate then? Because both of them are similar personalities in leadership.
Feel so?
Oh yes.
You think so?
Yes, Gary will tell you as it is, right? And Dr. Rowley will tell you as it is. Both of them
Don't
have.
like, yeah, but all they don't like that in Trinidad. All they don't like people who
But it's not. Here's why, Arita. It's not just that. It's not just that. People forgot. People seem to forget. Dr. Rowley, beside Dr. Eric Williams, is now our longest serving consecutive prime minister. So how you could say people don't like that? People voted for the man twice.
Thank you.
So you can't just say people don't like that. Why Dr. Rowley got kicked out wasn't just the paternalistic, more rough attitude. It wasn't just that, because people was calling him Rottweiler and aggressive and all of that since the 2000s. And yet still he won the PNM internal, yet still he won the national in 2015, yet still he won the national again in 2020. So I wouldn't say that you could just take that meaning people don't like that. I would say people don't like that mixed with hardship. Like, you can't be beating me and I eating bitter herbs, as Sparky was saying. We eating bitter and then you're tapping me up and buffing me up. No, gosh, don't do me that now. Don't do me that. That's the issue, not just his
Well
roughness.
said, Nathan.
I just muted everybody because when we have our mics unmuted, Nathan is very quiet. So when you don't speak, mute back your mic, please. Thanks.
Right.
Go ahead now.
Seems like some of us don't believe in Penny, but she has so much rebuilding to do with PNM now. What does that mean? What rebuilding does she have to do with PNM? Someone explain what that means to me.
I think it's very clear that the PNM has started spilling a little out of their usual neatness. I think
There's only one person, and I'll tell her if she hear me tonight, come for me. And she knows exactly who I am, so she could. Oh, the only watch Nathan face. The only person. And the only person. You see, that's like me, Nathan invited me into his house, and he accustomed taking off his shoes before he goes into his place. And because I get so damn comfortable saying that me and Nathan is friends, and we real good.
Who's this person?
I feel I can walk in Nathan's house with my shoes on, and he not even doing that.
Who is the person?
What I'm talking about is Jennifer Baptiste Primus. You need to come out, the people PNM.
no, we don't know about them thing.
Okay, all right. Come for me. I'm all right. Come.
We didn't say okay. Disclaimer. Myself, Nathan and Sparky had nothing to do with this, right? Miss whoever, she just called. We don't know nothing about that. We don't even know who you are. Who are you? Like she just, when I hear her name, I didn't even hear anything, right?
But but it's not just her. To be fair, it's not just her. She has been talking along with Mr. Lehunt. Mr. Lehunt is regularly along in her line. So it's not just that there are fractions. And didn't Dago Youth Man come out and say something about how did he phrase it? Trying to,
A subliminal message.
and it wasn't that subliminal. It wasn't that subliminal.
That message was very, very, very early.
That wasn't. It wasn't. That was just liminal. There was no sub in that.
No, I not calling everybody like that. I just said he made a post, and it was him that made a post. If he wants to take me to court for that, he will pay my legal fees because he said what he said. I'm not saying anything he did not.
But
say.
I think he deleted the post after, didn't he? Didn't he remove the post?
Can you
Yes, Sparky.
when I get some coffee to hear this?
But no, but for real, I just say it out of the usual neatness and very tidy, very prestige look has started to crumble a little
And-
in the public.
You
And
know?
it's like I kind of fed up. Like, PNM, take a step back, please. Go inside, get a villa in Tobago, and all your box it out inside there, and come back out like all you're accustomed doing. I fed up all you.
Ronnie, we going to bet here. Ronnie, I'm going to bet here. In the next 6 months, you wouldn't even be talking that we are with the PNM.
It doesn't
You
matter.
You win and
Well,
fair.
let them take.
Well, no, but leave them, because this is not something that Trinidad and Tobago has been accustomed to so happen. They want to look perfect all the time, and we know that always we having all the issues. No, the UNC had the time, which is the majority of the time, where they spend they put all the dirty laundry outside. At the end of the day, leave the PNM, let it go. I mean, they must people too.
My problem with it is how soon after the election it is happening. I can't, plus are all electioned out, right? I think the entire country is electioned out.
No,
Federal.
no,
Federal. No.
Well, people are celebrating their win. Those, I think they're still electioned out, even though they're celebrating their win. Even though they're celebrating their win, I think they are still electioned out. And Ronnie, there's another name in the stir, the former education minister that's now the chairman. I find she has a very ambitious tone of lead. She is attempting to put herself very much in the front.
To say again, this is somebody saying here Rita is speaking the facts about the internal aspects. I'm just shut my ass because I might give myself a loyalty anymore.
You calling names, I calling positions.
I'm sipping some coffee.
It could be all kind of people. The former education, she has a very ambitious tone of lead. Look out for her. The new MP for Beetham, the youth man, I find he looks like he wants to make a name for himself very strongly. People who want to make a name are generally ambitious. Look out for him. And you see, if it is that the PNM has all these factions and all these factors there, is it possible that we may now see what we have seen from the UNC numerous times, fractions break off and create new sets? Are we going to start to see that from the PNM?
No, you're not saying that, Nathan. You're not saying that. You don't see that. You're not saying that. Relax yourself. Your anticipation for that would never happen. No, it is not. Frank, you don't ask me nothing because I don't know.
I know, I'm just asking, based on what Nathan says, would it be fair to say that the PNM is creating a bold new chapter as we now speak?
Well, listen, I find the two political parties is creating a bold new chapter.
No. Let us not talk about one
Honestly, I don't want to get caught close. Relax yourself, as Frankie is all.
Yeah, but I understand.
You know when Nathan was answering the question, what it was your dance all around.
I am not allowing you to get close.
I don't want to hear.
I'm asking the question. Is it that they're creating a bold new chapter?
I will choose not to speak on that. I like you. I'm nothing to say.
So you have one word on that, and that is the C word. Confidentiality.
Confidentiality.
Okay.
You see,
More
and
than that,
go ahead.
more than that, Arita said, we don't normally see anybody run away out of the PNM and make a party. The only time we see that was this girl in Tobago. But normally they don't. They normally are able to
That was
function.
just Frankie. What you looking for? That will be Wednesday. Should we talking about it? That is not.
Well, listen,
It is not-
haven't you all been
It's
saying?
a bad thing to do.
Haven't you all been saying
It's a
that
bad thing.
that even the public,
We're not going to see that. Relax and listen.
even the public discontent that is spilling out, you always seeing that's not something you see normally from the PNM. So if you're seeing things, you don't normally see,
You know how old the PNM is as a party?
as old as Trinidad, older than Trinidad in fact.
Okay, all right. So if this one time in all the years that we know them, before I born, before my mother born, before whoever else born,
That could be a signal.
one time they come out here and they're doing something different, leave them.
Right, so it may be a signal that change may be on the horizon. Maybe that urban class.
Something when you have high expectations of them and their behavior. How can you do that?
You can what? One thing?
You cannot leave them when you have high expectations of their behavior. Precedence has been set.
So who knows? Maybe there might be a party under Amory, a party under the former education minister.
Let the chapter create now, man. Let me wait until the author done right now. God, all the hustling the people, give them a chance.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying we are election fatigue. Like, let's rest it. Everybody rest on it. I never thought I would be able to say this. I don't want to hear about politics for the next 100 days. Give Kamala 100 days. Give Kamala 100 days. Give PNM the 100 days to sort out. I don't want to see it. Because at the end of the day, you're frustrating people by the set of pointing. And then it's like, and I hate the fact that now you're not able to voice. And I think that's mainly my problem, is voicing anything is always seen as a like anti-somebody. You can't say something about being an anti-PNM, anti-UNC, anti-this. I can't just have an opinion, like, for goodness sake.
That's the election. The election atmosphere needs to dissipate for that to go. That's the rile up of the election. If you notice, I had videos in mind, but I didn't do any short videos really for the entirety of the election period because I just felt like it wouldn't have been worth it. Everything you say, and most of the content I do, if you look at it, you may struggle to see which political direction it's pulling to. And I think doing anything in that time, they would have tried to force it in one direction or the other. I don't like it. I'm fed up also. I'm fed up. I'm good. I'm not fed up talking about politics, but I'm fed up of the partisan style of politics because it kills brain cells. You can't, just as you were talking about, Ronnie, it's impossible to accurately describe something without somebody trying to see which side of the political divide it falls on. If you look at even the Pope with that, the new Pope that they've elected, Pope Leo, whichever number he is now. And if you look over in the US, each political divide is attempting to see how he's going to be on their political side or not going to be on their political side. Fed up. Guyana will do business now with us. Watch and see. Okay, I will watch and see.
Remember when I now come up, when all kicks and look fun and laugh, we were laughing and think just now, right? But when I now come up, Rooney, I told Nathan, I said at the end of the day, right now, Trinidad and Tobago just needs to ask him. We was having that conversation. We need to really pat down with the politics. We need to pat down, and this is the level. Racialism and all kind of thing. You're seeing that and all too. I saw Ronnie watching and some of them comments and seeing the levels to which people going at. It's ridiculous. It's really, really ridiculous. We had to do something.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, morning everybody.
Morning.
So, I know I may have came in late, but listening to the gist of it, and I don't know if you may have covered it before, but most of the times when I listen to these quote-unquote political discussions, I really want to know and ask, what really is the purpose of our government? What really is the purpose of our government? Do we as a nation have a clear understanding of what that is? Because it seems to me it just seems no matter how much we talk about change, I don't think we really want change in Trinidad and Tobago. We just want to get a piece when we have a chance. So it's slack in, slack out. That's what I'm looking at. So I don't know if it covered it, I don't know if it discussed it, but...
Here, that question of what is the purpose of the government is the main ideological question in politics that most times we don't answer. To serve the people is a very vague statement. What does it mean to serve the people? What kind of service? And what level of service? What exactly do we expect from the government? That is the question. That really is the question. For me, someone asked me way earlier, what does my political compass look like? My political compass leans on the side of I want the government as little involved as possible. Because the idea of the government is people to control and manage the affairs of the state, the affairs of this group of people on this bordered land. I think people functioning in free agreement is the ideal way to manage people, as in we are free to make our deals as we see fit. Any input by the government, by nature of what it is, interrupts that freedom to do deals all on your own and to make decisions all on your own. My view is that I want the government to interrupt as little as possible. Mainly in the manner of protecting each individual's personal and property rights. Primary. Security. Primary. I think that's like the government's primary focus. You're a libertarian then? Basically, yes. Basically, yes. Especially in a place where, like us, where it's much more difficult to get things done from your government. I prefer them then to just do very little. Because I won't be a libertarian if I could have gotten the government to do everything that is in my moral code. But I understand that I can't get the government to choose my moral code to function by. So then I would prefer that they don't implement any moral code over everyone and people are free to decide as they see fit. Thus, a more libertarian style. Camilla, stand your ground laws. I don't think that's going to change much in Trinidad because I don't think Trinidad had much problems with people using self-defense and then getting in trouble with the law. So I don't think that's a big issue. I think the firearm access issue would be a big one, and I'm in full agreement with it. By all means, law-abiding citizens get more access to weapons. I fully agree there, and I want it. People keep trying to fearmonger on me about that, and I'm sorry, it just won't work. Because as I keep saying, I look out in my community, everyone I'm afraid to have a gun already has one.
Yeah, but Nathan, I tend to, not that I disagree with law-abiding, quote-unquote law-abiding citizens having a firearm. However, this process has to be a rigorous one. It cannot be that any person or every person who deems themselves and the persons who issuing these firearms or who would issuing these firearms deem them to be law-abiding citizens is going to get a firearm. That is not how this should. I don't know how it's going to be in terms of their process, but I hope that is not how, because you have to. Trinidad has a lot of people who has mental issues in terms of anger management, all these things. No, you're laughing. This is serious. Because it ain't no way that a man could just curse you out, and normally we would just take it as, okay, he getting on like a fool. And because you feel that you have the power of a heavy piece of iron in your possession, you're going to gun down somebody because of it. We have to be very careful. No, and that is not, you laughing. Trinidad and Tobago has a lot of persons. Me being in the public sector, and the health sector, I look at this every day.
So then, Aretha, would it be fair to say that in place of the stand your ground legislation, right? Would it be fair to say that we should implement laws or legislation for anger management?
All them things too, yeah, that would be good too. Because, listen, I don't know if people will agree with me, but I am telling you, there are a lot of persons walking around here with serious mental health issues that they probably even.
But sis, all them people done had a gun. Ronnie, go ahead.
If I'm right, comes to the firearms aspect, I saw somebody said criminals don't go through a rigorous procedure. That's because they are criminal. They don't have to go through a rigorous procedure. And if you want to equate that the fact that they are able to get it easy, which makes a citizen should get it easy, then we misunderstand the whole concept of what owning a firearm is. Owning a firearm is a responsibility not everybody can handle. And as in plain truth, it is not a piece of item that you just carry to say you have, to say you own. It is a responsibility that you have to carry out every time that item is on you. Every time.
You know, I am more in the US frame of mind on this, where the responsibility side, I think it's more of a right side, where everyone has a right to defend themselves, and everyone should have a right to defend themselves with whatever their offenders are coming with.
No, I agree with you, Nathan, and I would say this, but we have to understand the American culture teaches from an early age that concept of gun culture.
But here's that's not totally true, because there were states in the US.
Let's learn quick, right?
All right.
Because if anyone saw me teaching my 5-year-old how to operate, handle, they would say in Trinidad I'm a madman. But outside in the States, they teach them as young as 5 years.
But here's the thing.
Culture here.
The states have individual states that have different laws. There are states that have stricter gun laws than Trinidad and Tobago. Recently, over the last 24 years or so, those laws have been laxing.
Correct.
And in the states, they have done studies. Every study they have done so far, crime has gone down. Even with the states where this wasn't their culture. And it has significantly gone down in some of them. An armed society is a polite society. All of this worry about who have guns and if we culturally ready and if Trinidadians go get vexed, all of this would have made sense if we didn't have 600 gun deaths per year already. If every one of my bad boy neighbors didn't already have a gun. If every time I walk out the road, I could point at the fellas armed on certain corners. All of that would have made sense then. Then we're a country with no guns, and we're now bringing this dangerous machine in. But we already are overrun with guns. Everyone who is willing to break a law and wants one can have one.
I can go now.
But I think what was missed is that I am looking at our mentality.
I could go after this, please.
Yeah, sorry, Ronnie. I'm looking at our mentality. Yeah, so go ahead, Ronnie. Sorry.
No, you finish. No, finish what you're saying. I will go after you.
So I'm saying I'm looking at our mentality, especially how we deduce things and how we see what we deem as right. There are many people in our country don't even know laws, and they will believe once they own the right to an item, they believe because they have that right, they could just operate anyhow they want. It's a responsibility to own that thing. That is what I am speaking of. It's a responsibility.
Okay,
If that's just my thing. It's a responsibility.
Okay,
And to understand that responsibility, you operate different. I'm not saying you can't have it. I'm not saying you should own it. It's a responsibility.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Kevin is a police officer who probably owns a gun. So I don't want to hear nothing from nobody who could own a gun. Telling me that I shouldn't own a gun.
No, he's not saying. Ronnie
I
never
never
said.
No.
Let Ronnie land her plane. Let Ronnie land her plane.
Don't fight me. Let me go. Let me pass. Let me pass. Okay? Let me tell you straight. I don't want no rigorous nothing. Everybody with a mental health order could get a gun right. If my head is shaking, it's like I got a gun. Hey, brother, just now, brother man, just now. All of these people, if my head is shaking, I can walk down the road and get a gun. If my head is shaking, I can do that. No. I don't want one because I don't want to go song in jail. I want to get my paper certifying me to have a gun. Or we could just say, you know what, take it off the table altogether. Everybody own gun. If you want a gun, go and get a gun. But it cannot be one way for others and one way for me. I don't like it because at the end of the day, just now, the man land my plane gun, I'm up in the air running out of gas, people. Just now. The people who have guns, the people who aren't afraid to break the law, they already have the guns. Give me an opportunity to defend myself. When I call a police station and they're telling me, if I don't know where the police station is, or they're telling me, them don't have no vehicle. And I don't like the question of, oh, they want to know if you have a gun box. A gun don't belong in a box. A gun belongs in the waist at all times. You must be able with your gun.
And that is the ignorance is what I talk about. That is
you
ignorance.
cannot have a gun in a gun box. It makes no sense. If a criminal is breaking into your home, you have to go and get the gun out of the gun box. That don't make no sense. Leave your gun.
That is to tell you how ignorant this is song, you know?
That's not ignorant. Them criminal, them gun boy, and them just sleep with a gun.
If you know how, Ronnie, if you know how, I find these arguments of these gun rights people.
This is one I think Springer would say, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't come here to advertise what my job is, and I never tell anybody. They cannot. But it comes with the territory.
Uh-huh.
And the ignorance of it is this. A gun don't belong on a person's waist.
Wow. Yeah.
I said to you how ignorant it is.
Where it belongs.
Hold on. I said to you how ignorant it is. I never, in no way, indicated that a person should not own one or should not get one.
Sorry, can I ask this
I
question?
never said that. Springer, you heard me say that?
No.
Kevin,
All I said it's a responsibility that people need to understand when owning one. So it's not just you one get one because you feel to get one. Understand the responsibility. When they ask for persons to have a safe, they're asking persons to have a safe because of the issue of or the what do you call it? In care of that there may be children in that same home. They want to know that you're oh my goodness. You see what I'm talking about? Ignorance. Because we're talking about the criminal. We're not talking to the criminal.
Woo! You're right, Ronnie. Ronnie, you're right.
moderator, I'm trying to hear Kevin's point and
ignorance just keeps seeping out. The ignorance of people. This is not criminals. We are speaking to citizens. We are speaking to right-minded citizens who want to uphold the law. That is what we're speaking about. And what they are putting in is those safety measures that if you have one, in the case that you have children, it is safe in that aspect. It is not telling you not to own one. It is not telling you how to protect your family, not to have it. It is not saying that. It is saying you who are the right standing citizen, you who are the responsible one, you will do the right thing whether or not criminals do the wrong thing. I am not measured by a criminal. I am measured by the law I keep. I am measured by the law and principles of the land. So whether the criminal want to do that, I am not going to do that.
But here's the thing though, Kevin. We are literally measured by the criminals. Crimac, go ahead, Crimac.
Yeah, good night everybody. Well, three things I want to clear up. I believe when the lady was saying standing ground law, she's going to amend certain rules when it comes to your immediate property.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? Outside of something is different. That's why I interpret standing ground law. Once you come on my property, something is a horse of a different color. Where everybody now getting access to firearms. I am saying, according to Ronnie, I don't agree with Ronnie at all most times, but I agree with what you say. If you have a conversation with your children, that you have a gun in your possession, because you don't hear criminals who have rifles and assaults that have a handgun, you don't hear the shooting itself. So if you have a conversation where you are a law-abiding citizen, so that means you must have children who listen, you speak to them and say, watch, this gun is not for no for you to play with. You have to be safe because they have when they're going through the process to apply for a firearm, the sergeant, whoever coming home, just make sure that they have somewhere to secure it. You understand? So these things is the procedure you have to go through. And these things you will have a safe. You will have somewhere to put it. And you will be a law-abiding citizen. You will go to the range. You will practice. And these things. So I don't know where Kevin's speaking about persons, it's a responsibility to have a firearm. I find that is law-abiding citizens. They're not law-abiding.
Okay, let's see.
Good night, everyone. I'd like to add something if it's okay when you're all ready, all right?
Let Mitch go, Arita. Let Mitch go, Arita.
To do what you have to do.
Mark, I don't want to call it the wrong name. Listen, hear me, and after hearing Ronnie speak just now, at first I want to tell you something. I just call out wrong with wrong. Ronnie had no right to say that the man is a police officer. That's off. That's right.
But the man have a police officer icon there.
Wait. Listen. Anybody could have any name on social media.
But make your point, Arita. Make your point.
When up on my feed, when I talk certain things, who popping up?
All right. Make your point. Mitch waiting.
And that criminals.
Right. Good. So here what, right? Let me tell you something. And I'm going to say this. We sit down here talking about, and Nathan is why when I get passionate and all that, please allow me.
Go ahead.
You know what is what hurting me? I hear everybody talking about this blasted stand your ground bullshit. And who vex after this I really okay. You know, only when ask the politicians, and I mean on both sides of the fence, and I'm going to come for the both sides of the fence here tonight. Only when ask the politicians to do better when it comes to the security of Trinidad and Tobago. Only when asked that here what's going on, the new Minister of National Security and the old Minister of National Security, only then ask them and only still not asking them what is the initiatives, what's the proper initiatives. You understand? They have with borders wide open like the blasted front door. You understand what I'm saying? Nobody not correcting them things. But we as a citizen, real happy and glad that we could get a firearm. Now, if I get a firearm, fine, I will take it. But here what I'm telling you, that is not my first choice. My first choice is for these people that all of us who just claim, say we pay them with UNC, all these politicians, that some of us put our be-all and end-all in. For once, hold their ass accountable and let them know to protect the blasted borders of Trinidad and Tobago.
Here's the thing though, Arita. Before...
At the end of the day, you can sit down here as a politician and tell me that here what? I fighting, why it is in 2025, in a small country like Trinidad and Tobago, I have to be fighting fire with fire. Why it is only getting paid thousands of dollars, all the perks is perking. You hear? And all they can put things in place. You know why? Because somebody, just like the last regime, and I'm going to say it, somebody go in and get a contract to bring in these guns and them. You understand?
Well, of course, somebody they are already gun dealers. But here's
I wanna adjust what you're saying.
just before you go, Kermac, just before you go. This has to do with the question, who asked that question before, what is the purpose of government? I think it was Kevin asked that. That's a very good thing. And Aretha, maybe it's a gendered thing. But as for me, I'm going to explain to you. You ain't hear me. You ain't hear what I say. You ain't hear me. Wait, Nagil. Hey, hello. Wait. I'm going to say what may be a gendered thing. When you say, your first choice is not to arm yourself and protect yourself. Your first choice is to want the government to protect you. I'm sorry. As a man, as the man of my household, my first choice is not to look for someone else for my protection. My first choice is I want the ability to be able to protect myself. I want to be able to protect myself. Secondarily, I would like if the government would do their job and protect me. But my first choice is I believe I have a right That's why I said I lean way further than y'all. Way further than y'all. I'm on the American side where nearly walk into a parlor in a corner store and buy a gun if could be. Because every person has a right to protect themselves. And here's the thing, you seem to not catch the balance. You seem to not catch the balance. Just now, Arita, Arita, just now. You seem to not catch the balance in even what you're saying right there. If you're saying that what you would like is the government to not have our borders open and to protect, can't you see that they've been doing this for decades? So what would we do? Best we hope, sit down unarmed and hoping that some daddy government is going to come and care about us enough to protect us, or get the means to protect ourselves. Mitch, you've been waiting a while. Mitch has been waiting a while just to input. Mitch, you there? Like Mitch fall asleep?
You all hearing me?
Yes, I'm hearing you. Yeah.
Sorry about that, my mic was muted just now.
Yeah.
Yes, good night to everyone. Alright, concerning the situation with the requirements for the owning license fire. Alright, now, from what I understand with the changes that are being made with this new government here concerning owning a firearm is that the changes will be made based on not on recommendation but it will be more based on requirements, because with recommendation you will be more influence in monopolizing that whole process. So that is where it turns out to be a business, and the owner firearm in this country have been a business for a very long while.
Yes.
Right? I have been working under the Ministry of National Security for over 16 years. I am not going to say where I work.
Please don't.
I am not going to say the level of experience that I have, right? And I must say that people stating that other people have owned a firearm on social media is not a wise and responsible decision to make by stating that, but I will leave that as it is. But I will highlight this with the level of experience that I have under national security, that owning a firearm, one of the main requirements I believe owning a firearm should be that you should have some kind of law experience, whether if it's under a discipline of working in the military service in some paramilitary way. Yeah, it should be that you have that experience. It shouldn't be that you should state that you are a citizen and you need to protect your life. Because I agree with you, you do need to protect your life. Because I have been in situations where the police cannot protect me. And that is one of the reasons why you tend to own a firearm. You tend to own a firearm is because of the mere fact that there are circumstances where the police service have failed to protect you within that time period. So you have to protect yourself. So by rights, you deserve to own a firearm. But within owning a firearm, you also have responsibilities, because you can also lose your freedom just by owning that firearm. And I am telling you as it is, owning a firearm, you lose a lot of responsibilities towards your freedom. You lose it. So it's not something that I would suggest any and everybody to go into. Owning a firearm puts you in a positions where you even have to lose an argument. You have to lose an argument, even if it's a public argument, because some public arguments can get aggressive. And if you know you are responsible, then you have to say to yourself, let me find the best way in quelling this situation down by stating I am wrong to the best I can, just to avoid a situation.
That's a good thing.
And that is a responsibility that you have to have within yourself. Also, you have to have emotional intelligence. You can't always be getting yourself out of control. You have to be in control, not of the situation, but of yourself, most importantly.
You know,
at the end of the day, if you happen to use that firearm, you still have to be in control of yourself.
You know, here's the part.
Control yourself, where you have to write a report stating why you had to use that firearm and what measures you took in using that firearm.
Yes, I understand all this.
Requirements and not recommendations.
But I find all of this,
I agree. Anybody can have it.
all of this sounds a lot like colonialism. All of this has the tone and tenor of colonialism. Of colonialism and control. Just now, Sparky, this is my last thing, we have to wrap up there. I find a lot of this has the tone and tenor of colonialism, and when I hear people in the security services say things like everyone to own a firearm should be have some military record, I like to point at stats. The security services have the highest domestic violence, higher than the average population, so you all probably shouldn't own guns. You see, that's the kind of thing I don't like, where it's assumed that some group of people somehow have moral character higher than the rest. I don't have that assumption. I think people work on incentives. I don't think if guns go through society that all of a sudden people are going to get super ignorant and arrogant and go about killing each other. I think we'd actually get a more polite society. The main risks, I think, and I can foresee, if such a thing happens in Trinidad and Tobago, the main risk I see is domestic violence and self-outing. That's the main risk. I don't think you're going to all of a sudden see men on the football field that have been sweating for 30 years with each other, get a bad tackle, cuss out each other, run home, pick up the piece, and blow out each other. I don't think that's what you're going to see. The main risk is domestic issues and self-harm. And the domestic issues, I think, is probably the major one. Because that's something where we do have those issues currently, and you would have a much more deadly weapon. But if that's the argument, then police and army and regiment and them fellas have no business in that argument. Because I just said the stats and that.
Yeah.
So...
But Nathan, let me ask you a question.
Mr. Nathan, I want to say something, right?
Let me give me one opportunity to speak now, please. Oh, and I'm going. You know, I just say my thing fast and go. How much just like you, Nathan, I deal with stats. How much robberies would have been spoiled or attempted kidnappings would have been spoiled with a firearm carrier? Who wasn't a police officer or a soldier. And plenty robberies that was spoiled because a man have a firearm and he intervened. You understand? So this is something that it could change the whole climate at Trinidad and Tobago. Because if I know you have a firearm and I have a firearm, my approach I'm not gonna be aggressive because hey, I know you have a firearm, there's a possibility you have a firearm.
Correct.
So everybody know we take a background. I listen, I was speaking, I was listening to everybody. I didn't disrespect nobody and speak while nobody was speaking.
What?
Thanks, I appreciate it. At the end of the day, that's how I watch it. If I know that you have a firearm and I'm Mr. Arrogant and there's a possibility this man I going to ride up a firearm, I will stay in my crease. I will approach you respectfully, I will approach you as humble. You understand? So to me, that standing ground law, it have a lot of things to be tweaked. For instance, improving the law, updating the laws, and plus adding one or two things with the procedure to acquire a firearm. But I welcome it because I want a chance to defend myself. Because police can be in every situation to reach in time. So if I can defend myself lawfully, let me do it, please. Thanks.
Everybody give their closing, eh? So everybody, this is your last closing is after 12:30. Give your closing.
My question that I was
Mr. Nathan, I'd like to say something about what it is you stated just now.
All right, well, this is your last thing, so say that and close it off one time too.
Go ahead, let's go ahead.
Okay. I believe that this whole stand your ground legislation that is being proposed has to do with the castle doctrine, that you should have a right to defend yourself in your own home. And I don't think that the government is going to be that foolish enough to give everybody the opportunity to own a firearm just because they want it. I think they are more looking at the fact that, okay, we need some level of protection to ourselves that we are able to defend our own property. As it now stands, some of us here, we have home invasions and persons are unable to protect themselves, right? Whether it is by using a cricket bat, I just use an example, a baseball bat to hit them in the head or something. And remember, some of these people who are being invaded by their homes, they are elderly persons, right? So there must be some way that they can protect themselves. whether it's a ground defense, whatever it is. I mean, come on. We have been at it for a long period of time now, and everybody's talking about firearm. I don't think that's what the government of the day really means with this
I agree with you.
Legislation, because I mean, right? I mean, being rightful now. I mean, no government in their mind is going to say, okay, I'm 25-year-old now, and I feel that someone is going to harm me. I'm going to apply for a gun, and in 2 weeks I'm going to get a confirmation of a license. I go and buy a gun for $5,000. I don't think that's what the government really means.
Yeah, but here's this, right? Here the general question I have for all of you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to enjoy a little scenario, just one somebody alone. Hear this, right?
Yeah.
So, you remember when they said the copper stealing in Trinidad was at a high level?
Mm-hmm.
There was a ex-police officer who would have, because there were people in his premises 2 o'clock in the morning, would have, how to put it, he would have unalived one of the guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
To date, that man is still sitting in the prisons of Trinidad and Tobago. Yeah, he's still sitting in the prison of Trinidad and Tobago. I don't know if everybody here knows that if it is people come, you know, they say the police, and I don't know, is that a police saying it has to be part of the law of Trinidad and Tobago? Somebody could correct me if I'm wrong. Let me tell you something. If persons come in your premises, I think there's a law in Trinidad that says that you have to subdue them and, well, probably restrain them in whatever way, and then call the police, right? Somebody tell me if I'm right or if I'm wrong.
You are correct. The law clearly states you must have just cause for a result. You must have
basically a citizen's arrest you're talking about, but continue.
No,
right?
what I'm saying.
The point I'm trying to make a research. Hold on.
No, I'm asking something. I'm just asking so you can answer afterwards because I'm going. Hear what I'm saying?
Continue.
I'm asking the question. So if it is, there is laws in place that if an intruder comes in your premises and you could find a way to subdue them, you subdue them and then call the police. That is one. Two, if it is that somebody comes in your premises, let me just say, a man comes in your premises with, how does call it, a gill pin. That is a word, the cutlass.
Mm-hmm.
They come there with that. And you turn around and use your firearm. And we just talk about the police here, or members of the protective service here, using excessive force. We doesn't talk about that. So
must have just cause to use a
no,
firearm.
but here's what I'm saying, Sprat.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, if I have a firearm and a man come in my house with a gill pin, at the end of the day, gill pin or not, I'll put something in here, point blank period. And then, if by chance you become unalived, who you feel the police coming to?
That's what the Castle Doctrine and Stand Your Ground law is about. That is literally what it's about.
Right.
Here's what I'm telling you all. And I want you all to take this into consideration. And because I know a little bit about certain things, I will tell you on something. You see, when you feel you'll be fighting one intruder, you see now they come in by the 6 and the 7 and the 8 and the 9 and the 10. Okay.
The Chinese man put on 4 of them, eh? He alone. The Chinese man in Curep that they tried to rob, 6 of them and 4 didn't come out, eh? Right?
Okay. Alright, thanks. That's your end then statement.
What I want to tell you, Rooney, is that I respect your opinions. And tonight, no. I respect everything. I'm not a disrespectful person. Has never been and will never be. But when persons come upon your life, whether he is a moderator or he is a host or whatever, I tell people, at the end of the day, you choose to interact with the public. You understand? And there are certain things that you just don't do. Point blank period.
Like what?
That's it. You just don't.
Like what?
She vexed you call the man out on his occupation.
I never know. I call the man by his name on TikTok.
No, you
I
told
told
him.
him he could be lying. He could not be a police officer.
Just so Ronnie, Kramak, you could say what you want. You could feel what you want. At the end of the day, I brought up something just now, and everybody keep talking about the standing ground and owning a fire. And up until now, just like many other instances, when a lot of young persons would ask questions, nobody can elaborate on it. The fact that we have a bunch of politicians in this country that continues to fail us, and we have reached to the point now where somebody is going to introduce a law because they see fit that that's what the citizens need to protect themselves as opposed to doing what is right for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And I rest my case. I don't know how much more laws that they will put in place for us while they allow the persons who continue to break the law to continue to break the law.
But that is what the freedom of the gun thing about.
Miss Miriam, I want to say something.
All right, Miriam.
Scenario that you added. Please, I want to say something. Please.
Mitch, go ahead with all I had to say, bro. Go ahead.
Thanks. That scenario that you highlighted where when people breach your home, they are not coming as a single individual. They come in groups. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something, right? Anytime a collective amount breaches somebody's home, I will say 9 out of 10, if not 10 out of 10, it is because of fear. And if I am putting myself in that scenario where you are discussing there, and I happen to get supposedly my firearm, and I take down 2 of them, I guarantee you, the rest of them are going to run out that place like potong dogs. And that just be the scenario, all the cases. Not some of the cases, no, for all the cases. Because when people breach your home, they breach your home with the intention of coming back out alive. And when they see their 1 or 2 partners get taken down, they forget what they come for. I am telling you, that is the scenario. So it has nothing to do with you thinking that you have one firearm and the firearm is a one-pop firearm and yet still there is not a chance. It is a chance.
Yeah, but Mitch, all I ask you, and you see you take that part.
No.
You take the part where I tell you that the ex-police officer would have unalived 1 out of the...
I looking for that case and I see it, Rita. I think you had to find that case and show it to me.
We had to come off the live, everybody make all the final statement and end it by good night and let we come off the live, please.
Thank you, Ronnie.
Until next time, have a blessed night, everyone.
Thank you, Mitch.
Mr. Springer, thanks for bringing me up. Huh?
Yeah, man.
You finish what you're saying, you can finish your statement, just end by saying good night.
Okay. Well, besides what I had highlighted on that scenario.
You wanted to say something to something I was saying. You wanted to respond to something I was saying.
Right. Now, what you were saying, based on, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's colonialism on, you was on the disagreement where not everybody who should have the right to own a firearm should go through some level of military training. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Now, the thing is this, right? There's a reason for that type of training that is required that you should have, even if it's to get it for 6 months, something. There's a reason for that. Part of the reason for that is because of emotional intelligence. The next part of the reason for that is because of a level of discipline that you need to have within yourself when faced with not only a illegal scenario where somebody invades your home, but also with a legal scenario where now the police will have to come and do an investigation, and now they will have to come and seize your firearm, and you have to be disciplined within yourself, with the amount of years experience that you have had with the responsibility, and you have adapted your life around it now, that you have to be disciplined enough to give up that and continue doing what you're supposed to do. That is what the military training gives you. It gives you that discipline where, no, for me, as I say, now I have had the paramilitary and the military training, and it teaches me, as I say, that emotional intelligence where I have to be in control of myself, even though my seniors are out of control and they are lashing out at me verbally. I have to be in control of myself. That is what it gives you. Because if you don't have that, anybody who comes at you and you are a firearm license owner, you will respond based on the powers that you have.
I got you.
So that is what I wanted to say.
I
don't know
got you.
if you understood where I was coming from, but the importance of it.
I did.
I understand, but the thing I want to say about the stand your ground legislation and the fact that everybody owning, because I believe everybody feels is that everybody's going to be owning a gun just because they need a gun to protect themselves. I more think that the stand your ground legislation is going to be a complementary law, right, to the
Oh yeah, sorry, good night.
right? It's going to be a complementary law to the doctrine of the Castle Doctrine, whereby one is authorized to use force to protect their castle, right? In so being, while you are authorized to use force, there is a degree of measurability that these persons will not get out on mere technicality. Because what we are finding happening is that the persons who are committing these acts and you report them, they are getting off on technicalities, right? Mere technicalities. Now I noticed Aretha, she went and said the security personnel, he unalived one person and he's now sitting in. At the time of the incident, that part of the legislation was not amended. And I think this is where we have to look at that aspect of the legislation that requires immediate amendment. So it is not, I know everybody's getting emotional over it, but from where I am looking at it, I don't see it as where they're going to make amendment that everybody has it all focus on this one have a gun, that one have a gun, and you get shot with a gun, right? I don't think that is where the government is going. I just don't see it that way.
That's
my point, and good night.
Good night. That's clearly not what they're doing. Yeah, Ronnie?
I would just like to say, everybody should be mindful that I have a gun. That is what I want to say. And nobody here coming in my house with a butter knife, I will kill you. Because what are you doing in my house? I don't like this.
But I come in your house with a butter knife because
you say good night. You say good night.
If I come in your house with a butter knife, it means I want a slice of bread, man.
If I invite you, you can come in my house with a butter knife. When you come in, you want a piece of bread, you coming to steal my bread? No way.
Oh, I'm Rick.
Let me tell you something. At the end of the day, and this is my ending thought, I feel as if we are being a bit naive and we are being a bit too, what is that, hopeful, right? I don't want to say that we should not be hopeful of our country, but the truth of the matter is, at the end of the day, looking at where these home invasions take place, why is it that most of these home invasions do not take place in places like Westmoreland, in places like West Shore, not West Shore, I don't know West Shore is a place, but like downside, Bay Shore, wherever, because those people own guns and the criminals are aware of that. So they know if they run in that gated community, at least one of them will land dead. Because it has happened in the past.
Notice the word you use?
Sparky, you say good night. Sparky, you say good night.
I know I said good night, but I'm going to say good morning. You notice the word you use? Gated.
Right, but these places, because they know that these people own guns, they legally own guns at that. And again, in the past, you can see from the little home invasion, it had like about 2 or 3 home invasions on that end last year or the last 2 years or whatever. And people died. People died, and I agree with that. People should die. When you come in a man's house, you need to die. I don't care. You come with a knife, you come with a pencil, you come with anything. I'm going to kill you because I don't know what your intentions are. The Bible tells you that the thief come to steal and destroy. He come to kill you. What you telling me about the man come with a knife? How am I going to know that? He might have a knife in his hand, but he had the gun in me back. I don't know that.
A knife is a deadly weapon too,
I'm living the reality of it. People are getting killed in home invasions left, right, and center in this country. And it is the regular average people who don't have the monies to put a 50K to bribe a police officer to get a gun. It is irregular people who apply for guns. When I learn shop, the shop owner down by
I would like to ask this question.
The shop owner down by me. Just now, the shop owner down by me. He don't have no big shop. He have a nice shop, a small shop. He used to open till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, right? They come and they rob the boy, stab him in the back. You understand? He have to start to close 10 o'clock and have armed security to come and get him money in the night when he closing. 10 o'clock in the night, I look into to make a little something. I can't go by the shop and get nothing. Come on. Come. If you had a gun, you know what's going on there?
Con.
Right. And they're dead. Don't tell me these things. And these people who run them, you know what? They are out on bail right now. I am fed up. I am absolutely fed up.
Nathan, can I ask this question?
Yeah, yes, Sparky, ask.
And it will be my last question. What is the average age grouping of persons who are experiencing this home invasion?
Older people.
It generally older people, yeah.
Okay then. So then,
So your neighbor,
so
you know something else.
therefore, somebody who is in their 60s, their 70s, who is very frail, you are really going to talk about giving them a gun to protect themselves? No, come on now.
But in most of the households, in nearly every case, there were younger people in the household. And a 60-year-old man.
Who is in their late 60s, early 70s.
And he is in his 70s and he owns a gun.
Mr. Roddy, let me correct you, please. Mr. Rowley does not. Mr. Rowley has 24/7 security around him. He does not need to carry a firearm.
Mitch, are you saying he doesn't have an FUL?
So you're saying that he don't have a gun?
I am not saying that he
You wanna
does
bet?
not have one.
You wanna bet, Mitch?
Is that he does not need to have one.
But you wanna bet he has one, Mitch?
Going to get into the debate of the Prime Minister, the former Prime Minister, walking with a firearm.
All you have to do is ask the airport staff. Every one of them have.
70s. Is it fair that, and they're walking very frail, struggling, we should be allowing them to have a firearm? Because when the invader come now, right, he's shaking so badly. By the time he fire 2 rounds,
Well,
he's scared
of course, that will be part of it.
Does he sound?
That will be part of it. Part of it will be obviously if you're too frail. It's like a driver's license to some extent. If you're too frail, you can't get your driver's license either. So yeah, obviously if you're too frail.
I think one way we can approach a situation where we're having this home, because 9 out of 10 times we do know who are these people who are committing the home invasions, right? Is the technicalities of the laws where these persons are getting off because of home invasion.
I ain't care for the law. The law is after the fact. I want you to care come in.
Yes, cheer for these people.
Sparky, there is no technicality they are getting off on. They are getting off because one is either lack of evidence, or 2, the court date is so far in advance it doesn't even matter. They coming out on bail and robbing more people, killing more people. I do not try to simply say, oh, catch, what is castle doctrine or whatever. Castle doctrine, and they coming in with a gun and I using my knife. Castle doctrine.
Okay,
Yeah.
One of the, in another Caribbean island, I'm just letting you know law, in another Caribbean island that had the same problem many years ago, they formed what is called the gun court. And if someone accuses you of a gun crime, right? It's an unbailable offense.
All of that I don't care, nah. All of that I don't care. Sparky, to close it off, bro. We will continue. We will continue another day. But personally, I ain't care for the court. I don't care for you to catch them. All of that is beyond the fact to me. The fact is, in my home, anybody running in my door must have the idea, bullets waiting for me on the next side. That's what I want in your mind. Every time you think to run in my door, I want you to think bullets waiting for me on the next side. I don't want you to think about the court and if the police go catch me and if the court go give me bail. And I don't want that. I don't want it. I want to be able to protect myself.
So you're saying Empty the clip, light them up, run
Light them up.
Reload.
no, right? Empty the clip, cock it back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Empty the clip again.
And here's the thing. I think personally, most of those bandit fellas are not suicidal. They don't want to end it. Them fellas want to live and drink the Henny and burn the high grade and go on lime and party and vibes. That's what them fellas on. Them don't want to die. Listen, if home invasion start to become a 50-50 death or life kind of thing, it done. It done.
Like this life.
And that's what I want. All right, people. All right, people. That's all I have for now. Thank you guys for tuning in. This has been the Mindful Live. We went nice and long. It's nearly 1 o'clock, people. I'll see you guys again for the next Mindful Live tomorrow evening around that 9:30, sometimes later time. Until then, people, hold on. I hope you're educated, informed, or entertained. I am Nathan Springer. Peace.